Hey, how's it going, guys? Mr. Boss for the win here, and in today's Red Dead Redemption 2 video, we are going to be solving another mystery. This is one that you guys have been requested that I tackle for a long time now, and that is the mystery of the exploding house. So if you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, number one, you probably haven't run across this, or number two, you just haven't made your way to New Austin yet, because this is where it's actually located, in Cholla Springs. And the first time I ran across this, I was shocked. I was nearly scared half to death. Because what I think I was doing, I was looking for specific animals, and I was in sort of hunter mode. I was focused on the ground and the skies, and, you know, you pass buildings all the time in Red Dead Redemption 2. However, this one, when you approach a certain distance, which we'll talk about in a little bit, just exploded out of nowhere. And it scared my horse, it spooked me, I literally yelped like a little child, and it was quite embarrassing. But it prompted me to want to dive into this mystery. Why did this house explode, and what is going on here? So anyways, let's dive into this and let's get it started today. So I'd say before we can begin, we need to talk about where we are located. And if you guys are curious, we are actually in Cholla Springs. Now, forgive the fact that the map is not fully loaded. I actually had to go back to a previous save because, as I just mentioned, I had already had the house explode when I was exploring on one of my main saves. So you guys can see there, it's right on the railroad line near Cholla Springs, which is sort of in between Armadillo and Tumbleweed, which is why I said you have to be in New Austin in order to check this out. So upon going to the house for the first time, if you keep your distance, you'll notice that things look pretty normal. Nothing seems to be out of the ordinary here. It just looks like it is a normal house or a normal shed in the desert. However, if we get a little bit closer, you can start to notice some things that maybe would make this thing not so different from a normal house. Like, for example, upon zooming in on this, you can kind of see that there looks to be like a lot of lab equipment or science equipment. Now, I'm not sure what the specifics of everything are here, but it certainly looks like items that a scientist or, an alchemist or a professor would ultimately use. And you guys can see here that everything is normal. However, if we take a couple of steps forward, the house suddenly explodes. It just blows up, and then it's left to nothing but a bunch of fire that erupts, and the house sort of collapses in on itself. And this was a big mystery to me when I came across this for the first time, and it's still kind of a mystery right now. Now, another thing that I learned from this is, and this is completely separate from the mystery, but the temperature thing you have when you hit like down on the D-pad is dynamic. So, for example, when I got close to that fire, the temperature actually raised up to like 106 degrees. And as I got further away, it slowly cooled down. That's kind of cool. I've never known that before. So the first thing we can actually gather here is a lockbox that I would imagine was either blown away from the fire. And there's three things we can get in here. We can get high-velocity rifle cartridges, which are cool. And we can also get an explosive slug pamphlet and repeater cartridges, high velocity. So this explosive slug ammo is quite valuable. And it's a pamphlet that allows us to learn the recipe. And in case you guys are curious, it says explosive slug. Rendered animal fat is specifically useful for cooking, waterproofing clothing, making soaps, or candles. When applied into a shotgun shell, the result is a highly explosive ammunition useful in various altercations and perceived interactions. So what you need is a shotgun slug animal fat, and then you need to let the animal fat render, pack into the shotgun slug, and then you need to seal it, and you need to store it in a dry place. However, there is a fireproofing tip at the bottom. Steep in a blanket in water and phosphate of ammonia or alum, whatever that is. And when entering a burning building, wet blanket and wrap around the head. So does this solve the mystery here of what this alchemist was trying to create, or this scientist in here? Explosive shotgun rounds? Well, on the surface, that seems to be our answer. If this guy had a pamphlet in here, you would assume that's what he was doing. However, it doesn't seem to add up. Number one, that was a massive explosion. And if you fire these shotgun slugs, they are explosive, but not in that degree where it just blows up an entire house. And number two, if it's a scientist like this, you feel like they wouldn't have any problem putting animal fat into a shotgun slug. And the only way in which it would have been, activated or ignited if heat was applied to it, which would have been a horrible accident. Now, that obviously could have been the case, but to me, it just seems unlikely that with all of this scientific equipment here, that this guy is making explosive shotgun shells. Because on top of that, there was no shotgun to be found. There was no weapons to be found here other than the ammo that he had in there. So why would this scientist be making ammo for something he doesn't have? Again, to me, that doesn't make sense. Now, if we go inside of the house, we can actually see the body of what looks to be the scientist or the alchemist here, and they are completely burned to a crisp. So they did obviously not survive, and we cannot loot their body, and we can't figure out anything else. So on the surface level, like I said, you would assume that the mystery has been solved. But there's actually a little bit more you can read into this here, and it certainly makes this entire thing that much more detailed. So there's actually a newspaper article that actually mentions an alchemist, very similar to the one we found in New Austin. The title is A Second Gold Rush. Alchemist claims gold created from tin. Now, it says, while prospectors seek untold millions in gold lying in streams and hills of the West, word is spread of a man who is close to making gold. Residents in the area on the border between Cholla Springs and Gaptooth Ridge in New Austin say rumors are running rampant of a recluse alchemist, Anthony, who lives in a small cabin and is close to perfecting the ability to change any base material, such as copper or tin, into gold. If such a discovery were announced, the gold markets would surely collapse, says one economist. So that right there explains the exploding house in Gaptooth Ridge. There's a couple of things that confirm this. Number one, it's an alchemist. We know that's an alchemist. Number two, the location. It's the exact spot, Cholla Springs and Gaptooth Ridge in New Austin. That's exactly where we were. And it mentions a recluse alchemist, recluse who we do not see, and his name is Anthony. And he also describes a small cabin. Now, this is where I'm going to need your help because I am not a scientist. I did not do well in my chemistry and physics classes in university and school. So if you guys are well informed in that subject, let me know. Would tinkering with tin and copper turn it into an explosive, especially if you were trying to change its, atomic element into gold? Let me know if you have any idea in the comments down below. Now, I actually did a little bit of research on whether tin or copper was explosive, and I got some varying results. Some articles said that yes, tin and copper can be combined with other elements to create explosive materials, but others have said that tin and copper are not very reactive, which is why oftentimes they're used for containers for other things that are more volatile and reactive. So I'm not really too sure what to believe here and honestly what is right, but I think this does make sense because there was a lot of scientific equipment here for this guy to just be making animal fat shotgun slugs. So I think that answers the question. Our alchemist Anthony here was trying to create gold. And obviously, I don't think that's possible because it completely failed and it didn't work. And obviously, there's nothing like that today. Now, I wanted to come back for a second time because I wanted to do some experiments with this house. I wanted to see what would happen if we could trigger the explosive automatically instead of having it occur when we walked a certain distance away. So in order to try this, we were clearly too far away to throw dynamite or anything like that, like a fire bottle. So I tried loading explosive rounds into the weapons I had and firing them at the house, and nothing happened. I also couldn't get Anthony, the alchemist, to come out of his house. Nothing like that would actually happen. We would just fire the explosive rounds at the building and nothing would ultimately occur. So there was no way, unfortunately, to get this building to explode. The only way to do that is to get as close as possible when you sort of reach the threshold. And in case you guys are curious how close you can get, you can see on the map right now that it is not exploded. And we are, I don't know how far away that would be, maybe like 100, 200 feet. And then the second we take like another step forward, it ends up exploding. And this is how far away we were on the map when it exploded. We were just on the other side of that road. So you do have to get pretty close in order for this thing to blow up. But I think that right there is our mystery solved. On the surface level, our alchemist Anthony was creating explosive shotgun slugs, but it looks like he was trying to change the world's economy by creating gold out of the much more common elements, copper and tin. So again, I think that right there is our mystery solved. But as always, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below if you have more to add to this story in terms of how likely that scenario would be of something exploding if you're messing with tin and copper, and just the entire lore of our recluse alchemist Anthony here. Let me know your thoughts, opinions, and more in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys down there. If you did go on to enjoy this video, though, a like rating would, of course, be awesome. And subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new, or you like daily Red Dead Redemption 2 videos like this. With all the way, guys, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.